If I should get myself to look. Alrighty. As I always say, I think we're live. We'll do a little check.
We are indeed.
All right, cool,
We're
cool.
here doing camera
Welcome.
checks.
Welcome to High Frequency Living. This is our Saturday night little powwow that we have every Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on YouTube. We have a high frequency living conversation. We also do during the week midday pop up meditations on high frequency living. We did last night. We did a what do I call it? Elevation after dark. We did
Yeah.
elevation after dark. Uh, it had just got dark. Just it was literally like 10 minutes after it got dark. I was like, good. I can call it
Yeah.
elevation after dark. Let's go.
Getting dark late.
Right, exactly. So we have quite a few iterations of high frequency living. I encourage everyone to visit the channel, go under the live tab, and see the archive of our high frequency living lives and our of the sun live shows. Um, very interesting content and very down to earth, relatable content. So I encourage everyone to visit that channel and check out the archives. In Lakesh and Veritas, Stacy, greetings. In Lakesh and Veritas, ease. I like that. I like that. I'm at the. Hmm. I don't think I've seen you before, ease.
Ease,
Tavares, are
where's
you familiar with ease from the chat and the of the Sun lives?
no, it's the first time I heard of ease, but I'm wondering where's Grace? Ease and Grace.
Right, ease and grace. Grace is coming in the chat soon, I'm sure. And Lakesh and Veritas, and Lakesh Studio One. Glad that you popped in. That gives me the opportunity to say High Frequency Living on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern is sponsored by Inlakesh Studio One. Inlakesh Studio One specializes in cleaning and clearing spaces and places through quantum light property clearing. Also, Inlakesh Studio One is very popular for its Call for the Truth card readings. They do a 1 card, 3 card, or 9 card spread, and you can find out not only the divination the Call for the Truth divination card reading, but you can be recommended certain modalities, herbs, and or practices that will assist you in integrating whatever the truth that was found in your card reading. So I highly encourage everyone to engage with Inlakesh Studio One. You can visit the website www.inlakeshstudio1.com. It is in the description of this video already, so feel free to check it out. And you can sign up. And Studio One makes quite a few of its programs available for free. So if you'd like to get familiar with the vibe, get familiar with the language and some of the practices, there's quite a few things you can engage with for free. All it is, your effort and your willingness. So I'm grateful to Inlakesh Studio One, as always, for the support and the sponsorship, and we will continue to be allies and work together as we move forward as well. We got Stephanie in the chat, and Lakesh and Veritas, Delilah and Lakesh and Veritas. We got a few more, a few more. Thank you very much, everyone, for chiming in. So I know you all see something a little different. You see black man, black man. You see, I don't know. Is it the right? Am I pointing the right way to the other box, or am I going off the screen?
I think you're
But
doing
uh, okay, cool. Gina and Lakesh Veritas, happy Saturday to everyone. So typically, the last few weeks we've been doing high frequency living with my mom. Today we're doing a topic that is appropriate to have Tavares front and center on the mic for, which is exploring the divine masculine. For the anyone who was on last night's live, we did a short divine masculine meditation. That was a pre-recorded meditation. It was very impactful, very powerful. But what we did along with the meditation was we read a communication communication that was um, provided to us through Tavares. So we read an excerpt, about 2 paragraphs or so, of that communication. It was extremely impactful. And once again, I do recommend, if you missed it and didn't hear it, visit the last live, visit the channel, go to the channel, go into the live tab, and the last video, you'll see high frequency living, elevation after dark. It was we read I was cracks you up every
Man, got you.
time. We read the excerpt from that communication. So we're going to explore this idea of the divine masculine with Tavares from a couple different angles. First, if you don't mind, Tavares, I'd like to start with kind of what the experience is like being the vessel that does the communication from this consciousnesses, these high frequency consciousnesses that we are exploring and building relationship with and commune with. So I'd like to know from you kind of some of that experience, what it's like to be the vessel for that, and then we'll get into our understandings of the divine masculine.
All right. And first off, thank you for having me on, Ahad, this evening. And Lakesh Veritas, to everyone joining in. It's an honor to be here with you all and to speak on the divine masculine. And as you were prompting the question, I started getting goosebumps from
Really?
the excitement of being able to share such a process, because I've been doing communications, bringing forth transmissions like this for years, but it never ceases to amaze me what's happening in the process
Hmm.
and the end product. So what the experience is often like is, one, you realize that there are other forms of consciousness out here, and for one, it's not all in your head. I know there are many people who want to learn how to communicate clearly, and when you spend enough time in that space, meaning the akasha or the ethers, or really, I'm in a theta state. So the brain operates in several different wave bands,
Hmm.
and like alpha, beta, delta, gamma, and theta is that in between space just before you're about to go into sleep. That in between space right there, and that's when you're in the pocket, and you can be receptive, and you're deep in a meditative state. And while I'm in that space, it's clear you're talking to another consciousness, another
Yeah.
being. And the thing about different forms of consciousness, it's it's a unified, it's a we, it's not like a singular. That's something, there's a vastness. Whether I'm speaking to insects, like if I'm speaking to insects, I'm speaking to the insect kingdom, not just a singular. When I speak to the divine masculine, it's a larger idea. It's not just like an I, it's more like a we, if that makes sense. Same thing happens with the archangel realm. Archangel Uriel, no, it's a we, it's a multiplicity. I trust this is landing.
Yeah.
So as I'm in there, one thing that's just so important is to keep yourself separate from the information, meaning don't get in the way. Don't try to insert yourself all up in it. Like what Tavares thinks he knows about the divine masculine or any information associated, really being at zero. And that opens up the floodgates. And when I'm speaking with them, the
Do you
way,
mind if I stop you with a
no,
question?
not at all, because I the floodgates are open, bro.
You can go. Yeah. So you said, it's very important to not interject your personal self, the like your self identity and the things you think or believe and things like that. That was understandable, but what it made me think, such a simple question. When you're having this communication, how are you recording what's being stated? Are you
Yeah.
like doing a voice recording, or are you writing, doing, because I know some people do that where they're writing their communication, like, I forget what it's called. However,
Automatic.
how are you? Yes, exactly. How are you doing it?
I'm actually typing it in my phone. It
Okay.
is the quickest and most efficient way I can do it, because writing just isn't fast enough due to the way
Hmm.
the information comes. So that's a good question, because the way how the information becomes, it's like a bubble of non-linear information that is engulfed, I'm immersed in it, and
Yeah.
I'm attempting to pull it out as a coherent stream. And that happens through the writing process, whether it's writing on paper, typing on your phone with your thumbs, or typing on a keyboard. So primarily, my thumbs do most of the work.
Yeah. And you say it's a bubble. So it's like a it's like a bubble of clarity or understandings. However, then you need to succinctly pull it into the communication of what through priority, through whatever's being asked for, et cetera, et cetera. But you tap into an understanding from the consciousness of that grouping that you're reaching out to. Is that
Most
accurate?
certainly, most certainly. So there may be a moment where I'll get something. This speaks to what you were saying about prioritization
Hmm.
and the way the information flows. I may get something that's at the tail end or part of an actual activation, and I make like this rough side note to come back to it because the information's there. I just need to make sure I can pop back into it. So I have my own unique process, but it is so interesting because, again, it is not as linear as one would think. It's floating around and as you tap into it. But one thing that I do see though, when you trust the process and just kind of go for it, it's just like anything else. Like you got to take that first step, or speak that first word if you're recording, or make the first couple of words, and then it just begins to unfold. You know,
Hmm.
that's what I have found to be very unique within the process. So I can keep going on. Like I say, the
Well,
floodgates.
well, so what I'm curious about is uniquely about this topic, it's one of those things where it's very relevant to you, the person. So if you're talking to the consciousness of insects, it might be relevant to you, but it might be more of like an understanding that you're seeking on behalf of the group, or on behalf of a client or things like that, where your personal identity is not could not be challenged or elevated or downgraded due to whatever information is being expressed in it. So the dynamic of it being something that is directly correlated to you, your self identity, your growth process, all of those things. Number one, how do you keep yourself clear to make sure that you are not inputting too much of your preconceived, the preconceived identity or thoughts about the subject? And two, what was that kind of dynamic like for you?
That's an interesting point. So the space that I'm in now, it's an automatic. I've
Okay.
trained enough to, get out of your way. I'm the type where if I see somebody mess up, I'm taking notes. Don't do that, because I've seen a lot of communicators interject themselves, and you can kind of tell when
Hmm.
someone puts themselves or their personality within the communication. It's an
Yeah.
energy thing, but it's also in the words, especially if you know the person. Like,
Yeah, you know.
that's not the divine. That's you. What you doing in the communication?
Right.
So, but what I would typically
If
do
the
though,
bugs say, you know what I mean, and only that person says that all the time. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? The
you-
rooster did not say that.
that's hilarious and it's so
Right.
real. So one of the things that I do though, and I teach this in the Akashic Record class, is to begin by calling for the truth. First off, I ignite my light body. I'll give you the full gamut of the process that I'm going through. Light up my light body because the information has to flow through us. We're conduits. If you think of yourself as a stream, and you got these different reservoirs, going along the stream, and you want
Mhm.
to make sure that you're clear so that the electricity or the information can flow smoothly. So I ignite my light body, call for the highest possible vibration. I go into one mind. One mind really is a great interface for connecting interdimensionally and just speaking with all forms of consciousness. I call for the truth, make sure again I'm receiving the truth. And then, excuse me, then I simply call to harmonize and align with the consciousness. And funny enough, they're usually already present. They're like usually waiting on me to
Right,
get
because
into
they
that.
already heard the thought, the prep, all the time you was preparing to do this, it was already kind of ignited that consciousness for them already. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to give a little background. So I've been doing communications on behalf of the Sun for well over a decade, but this idea of uh, where the communicate and why the communication came through, we have an inner circle group where communications are regularly coming through from different multidimensional, interdimensional beings, allies of the Sun. And so
Mm.
every Monday evening, I'm positioning myself to receive. But like, what's cool though is that even a week before the day of, throughout my day, they're sharing understandings with me. It's they're with me without my conscious understanding, but sometimes I'll have these moments of, ah, okay, that's them. Or when I actually go into the communication, I have a recall of the insights that I got that were associated with the information that they were kind of inseminating into my field.
Right.
So it's again, it's the so the process of communication with different consciousness, but specifically the divine masculine, it doesn't start just in that moment. It's like before, well, way before, working with them.
Hmm.
But that's essentially the prep. I harmonize with them, and then by the time I harmonize, I move into the space and I open myself received, and that bubble comes in. I'm immersed in the information, and then we just roll with it.
And did you have any moments of like yourself kind of popping back up, or like anything that even kind of alerted or challenged anything about your own self identity while in that process, or even after when you went back and read it?
So it's both, and I'll clarify. So when I'm in the space, I have clarity of when it's me and when it's them. And often I'm asking probing questions about certain things, like explain that, clarify that, restate that so that I can
Okay.
articulate it. But then within it, I do see myself. And this is one of the fascinating things. Even though I'm bringing forth a communication on behalf of the collective, it's just as much for me as it is for others, but it's
Yeah.
just as much for them, for the group, than it is for me. So I'm in such a heightened state where the perception is unity. I see me, I see we, I see different facets of the necessity or its application or relevance pertaining to people who I'm close with in our inner circle, middle
Right.
circle, other clears, etc. Humanity at large, people who aren't even associated with the Sun, just the larger collective consciousness of humanity and how it relates. So it's fascinating, you all. It's this fluxing in and out of awareness of how the information is landing.
And it's all different degrees and octaves of oneness, though. And
Most
that's like
certainly.
what you're saying. Like you see you, but you as in you as humanity, you as your inner circle, you as the just the men, you as everything. You are that, you are a representative of all when you're doing that moment, in that moment of communication. Like,
Precisely.
yeah, I
Precisely.
love that. That's dope.
It
All right, so
really
we got
is.
K.
Yeah.
K said, "In Lakesh and Veritas, all I'm grateful to be here with you." K, my girl, in Lakesh and Veritas. Yana, greetings, star beings. I love that.
The stars
We
aligning.
got Deborah in Lakesh and Veritas, everyone. Biobello in Lakesh and Veritas. And everyone else who I might have missed in Lakesh and Veritas as well. All right, so let's kind of transition to let's transition to what if if you have some formulated thought of a synopsis of what it is to embody being the divine masculine, uh in a realistic or in a day-to-day way, in the sense of like when you hear or when you are striving to be this, what do you envision the divine masculine looks like on a man?
There we go. Thank you for that, because my
Yeah,
mind is
yeah.
like,
I
okay,
know. I
where
know.
are we with
Yep.
this?
Yeah. I'm already knowing, and it's. Let me set the table for this, and you all have probably heard me saying this before. I think this is extremely valuable conversation for both sides of the conversation. So what I mean by that is that me personally, my interest is very much so in to what does this from the perspective of someone who has talked directly to the authority on being the divine masculine. What is it that I'm supposed to be striving to embody and be, and how am I supposed to be striving to come off so that I can actively not just work on it, but I can see myself being. I have to first like receive it, understand it, accept it, so that I can then start trying to embody it. So for my side of it, I'm like genuinely curious on what does it look like for me to be, an embodiment of divine masculine. And obviously, I want to know to see the contrast between who I am now and how I am now, and what you're going to share with us. But also, there's a lot of women who are a part of this conversation, and I think it's extremely valuable for everyone to identify what it looks like outside of themselves, what divine masculine looks like outside of themselves, so that one, they can call forth it and embrace it and uplift it when they experience it. But two, so that it doesn't get disrespected or shunned away because of our tainted kind of perspective of masculinity and femininity and the world and all these things. It would hurt me so greatly if I finally worked so hard to become an embodiment of the divine masculine, and then all the women I respect and love so greatly are like, "You ain't shit. You ain't nothing because you're the, this, that, and the third, or whatever it might be." And I mean that obviously tongue in cheek somewhat. However, the point being that there is a real thing here on like us understanding what actually is the divine expression of each other and calling forth that, and not seeking for a lesser version of the opposite gender or opposite sex, and then being dissatisfied with the experience we get. You get what I'm saying? Does that make
Yeah,
sense to you?
that makes total sense. Make total sense. So I'll start by saying it's multifaceted, but if I had to simplify it and narrow it down to one thing,
Mm-hmm.
specifically for a man, what does it mean to be the divine masculine? To be the divine masculine is a man who is in balance with the feminine within themselves. The very idea about the term divine masculine, what differentiates the idea of the divine is this sense of wholeness and the unification within oneself. You're not fragmented, and we operate within clearly a polarity reality: black white, big small, male female, etc., etc. And
Mm-hmm.
so the goal is to harmonize those two poles, but again, from within oneself. So this looks this can be looked at in principle, this can be looked at in thought, this can be looked at in our everyday actions and how we approach things, how we engage with people. But this idea of the balance with the feminine, what I mean by that more succinctly is where, again, even the as I think about it, it's so detailed and so vast. But this idea of being in balance with your feminine, we're honoring our visions, our imagination, the aspect of the divine within us that is informing us for the vision or the purpose that we came here. So divine feminine is associated with, or has attributes of, vision, having a blueprint, creativity. It's the womb of creation, literally, where all things are, all the building materials, so to say, or the substance that would create form and influence form. And then the masculine takes that vision and then we build, we make it happen. So, for us to be forerunners, or be in balance with what the divine has for us. Like, and when I say divine, I mean just the totality, not just the feminine, the masculine, but the totality. But the way how it's broken down, so to say, feminine is associated with vision, creativity, which that requires a man to be in tune with the intuitive aspect of himself, to feel, to be receptive. And these are things that are shut down. These are things that we're taught. There's a lot of different colorful language. When you start embracing the feminine aspect in any capacity, and it's very problematic because again, it keeps us fragmented within, shutting down aspects of ourselves that wants to be expressed, wants to be creative. And then, so again, that masculine, he takes that creative aspect and he gets stuff done. And that's where that whole linear aspect comes in: action, form, structure. We got them right angles, and we're not trying to go off from the plan, because we already got the plan, we got the structure and the vision. And so in some of the most practical senses, like very being detailed, structured, and orderly, but at the same time flexible and open and intuitive. And so these are some broad brushstrokes, because like I said, it can go in a lot of different places, and you can look at it in principle, you can look at it, like I shared, in the most practical, actionary way.
Okay, so, and I got a few things. Okay, so I want to know, in a dynamic between masculine and feminine, and the masculine is, I'm adding or working towards embodying divine masculine, which is, like you said, a wholeness, which includes some of the feminine energy. What does Kate, is there a glimpse of a dynamic between masculine and feminine that you can share with me, of how they interact with each other? Because I do understand from what you're saying that, number one, the masculine energy in and of itself kind of is, like you said, very almost straight line, very purposeful, very action based, very structured and or directed energy. And the feminine the feminine is more intuitive, more life driven, more I forget what the other word you expressed was. However, I understand them to be very different. But what does it look like when I've adopted some of that feminine energy into my being, and I'm engaging with someone who is looking to do the same and looking to be the divine feminine? What does that engagement look like, in relationship? And I don't mean in like personal relationship, but just in relationship.
Yeah. I actually wanted to give a real life example, but something about what you said, it shows or speaks to the dynamic of masculine and feminine being in everyone, or whether it's like a male, male, female, female, male, female situation. Because I want to share, again, a principle and a concept or analogy, not even an analogy, this is just real life, to help understand what's happening in that scenario you share. When you got some divine feminine, it might come out with the divine feminine of another. So in this conversation, we have someone listening and we have someone speaking. So someone is receiving, you're receiving right now, you're in your feminine mode. I'm in the masculine. So right there, we can see the dynamic of masculine and feminine playing out literally, energetically, in the dynamic of talking. And so we may be working on a project, and somebody may be operating as the feminine in terms of the vision, in the creative process. And then you know, if you just got two creative minds and nobody's willing to take action, nothing's
Gotcha,
gonna
gotcha,
happen.
gotcha,
You feel me?
gotcha.
And then if you got
However,
two,
you be okay.
go
I
ahead,
was
finish
gonna
it.
say if you become in your attempt to be whole, it's that you can have that inspiration and or receive that inspiration, but then you can also go act and at least initiate the action. And even if you're not going to be the sustainer of the action, you can at least engage with it or act on it. Is that what you?
Most certainly, and even in that situation where like you can turn it on and off, or flip the polarities when
Yeah.
you're engaged, because somebody has to, you know, it depends on the scenario, but we have that capacity to do that within ourselves. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
So yeah.
Okay.
So this is a very like regular layman example, but when you said about the listening and speaking, it does immediately remind me of like, okay, so the the idea of it's very masculine to be in like arguments and debate, kind of those kind of things. It's very masculine because you just want to get your point across. You're not there to receive.
Yeah.
You're you just want to give. And unfortunately, it's toxic masculine if the other person doesn't want to receive. It becomes even more like it's one thing that you being, hyper masculine. It's another thing if you're like it goes even further when you forcing your what you have to say. I'm just
Mhm.
using saying, but it's in a lot of different ways. Your impressions, your thoughts, your opinions, your beliefs, etc., onto another. That becomes a whole different form of like toxicity and far from the divine. However, I can see, even though it's so simple, I can see how even the acts of argument, the acts of debate and bickering and all that kind of thing is uh it can only be it can truly only be done with two masculine energies happening at the same time. Like they say, like even in an argument, it takes two people to argue,
Yeah.
like the same way it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
It it does not have to be fire versus fire or masculine versus masculine. So now that lets me see that for my own self, how powerful would it make me if in moments I can step out of the masculine and I say, because it takes two to tango, regardless of if I'm the male gender or not in the conversation, I don't
Mhm.
have to be the masculine energy in the conversation.
Correct. Which
And that
that's
allows me
tough.
to, yeah.
I was just gonna say that's a tough thing to step away from for
Yeah.
I would say both men and women, because women have been conditioned to take on, uh, again, using the example you gave of debating that masculine energy. I gotta get my point across, where it's hard to step away, or it's hard to not want to win. You know, to be in battle, and that's a whole nother topic that I kind of want to get into, where in the communication, because you asked me earlier what were some things in the communication. Yeah, well, you didn't quite ask me that question, but I'm
Yeah, come
speaking.
on now. We want to know what's happening. If you starting it, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I saw that damn, there's so many different things I want to talk about right now. I even want to go back to things that you shared. I'll say this briefly. You said it's a simple example, but I think it's so important that we use simple examples, because these type of concepts of divine masculine and divine feminine, they kind of escape us. They seem very
Yeah.
abstract and
Yep.
spiritual, and they're not grounded. So when we use examples like this, I think it serves everybody, where we can see it in action. So this masculine energy thing, and just being able to turn it off, turn it on, and flip and choose, I think it's so beautiful that you see that, man, I don't have to be this way. I could always flip, no matter what the other literal gender is that I'm speaking with. But
Yeah.
I saw in the communication that Uh, we have been taught, and even in spiritual systems like in the Far East, uh, using the examples that you gave, fire and water, or like fire and ice. You see this red versus blue, and this clash between the masculine and feminine energy, where it has been conveyed as though it's this warring type of energy that's never really in balance, but they're just there. And I'm like, man, that's not the truth. That is the experience from a person based off the person's consciousness. I say that's a user interface error. So
Right.
whoever's interfacing with the masculine and feminine at that level, that's what they see. But in truth, they go hand in hand, just like the idea of a conversation, or I would even say, using the biology, left brain, right brain, my left brain and my right brain ain't clashing. I mean, with the exception of the conditioning, the overlay,
Right.
but in truth, like, they were intended to work together based on the divine design, but it's only us who distort it. So seeing that there has been this competition that has been instilled within us, specifically uh, between the masculine and feminine. But again, you also see it in the mundane conversations. I gotta get the last word in. I gotta win, and it's like I gotta put you down. And that type of energy is problematic, and it's far from the temple of wholeness. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, you got the last word in, but how does that make you feel? Maybe you
Right.
feel like good, but that's your ego. And then on top of that, you know, it's again, my standard is striving to have harmony. And I know that I'm still in matriculations of growth process, but if I can't have that in a conversation, then I need to see what's going on within me. Where's the imbalance? So I'm going a little on and on, but my
No.
main
Yeah.
focus was this idea of competition, man. It's really a thing that's embedded in us, and we can see it in so many different levels of our reality through masculine and feminine.
Right. And well, I'm gonna read this last comment from Shaka. Shaka. Hey, and look at Shaka. The divine masculine has the capacity for empathy, compassion, and grace, tapping into his feelings, in quotes, instead of trying to use logic. Um, I understand that directly in harmony with the point you were making, Tavares, of how you can evaluate what the situation is and do what is required to have the highest possible outcome. So you can have empathy for something or someone that is operating in a way that might not be um, in harmony with your goal of harmony or peace. So you can change roles, so to say, or adapt the frequency that's needed to navigate that situation. And you don't have to do the oh no, you ain't talking to me like that, and then get right back at it, and match it in that manner. And
Right.
it's there's a lot of things that we're clearly learning, that the reward is karmic and the reward is uh between you and your own self, and oftentimes is not acknowledged or even understood or noticed, depending on what your circles are, of how you might have navigated something or how you might have prevented something or diffused something or whatever it might be. And that is just the cost of being on the journey that you're on of evolving and growing, especially in the world that we're in, is that a lot of times, it's our reward is the karmic response that what we have put in gets us in the direction of our lives, in the immediate and in the long term. So in the this iteration of our life, but also our soul's path, meaning one less thing that we have to conquer and clear and reconcile in a potential next lifetime. So yeah, I can see that understanding these concepts is one thing. Applying them is definitely a big thing, but especially if a lot of us are applying or striving to do this in a world or in dynamics where the others are not trying to also do the same,
Yeah.
man, that's a thing. Like it's a real thing, but it also adds more value to why we need to or should want to do this. It's so that we don't have to be bruised by other people's um, where they are on their journey. We
I
don't
want
have to take the
to
lumps from another person's lack of interest in evolving.
yeah, I want to speak on that and then tie that into what Shaka was saying about this empathy and logic. And yeah, man, I agree with everything that you say about you will get the reward for your actions. It's built in for better or for worse, right? But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it all serves us for growth. There's an opportunity, and really, it does help us become fortified and, from a higher perspective, be able to create influence on those people who have influenced us. Because usually we feel as though the people who are around us, who they're not necessarily on the same path or operating in the same capacity of their evolutionary process. But man, there comes a turning point where you start feeling yourself and you start realizing, oh man, I don't have to be a victim to that. I can actually influence that, and it's not just the people in your circle. It's when you go out to public venues and spaces and places, because, we get it there. Psychic attacks and people be thinking things and feeling things and judgments, etc. Because, whatever the state of consciousness we're currently in. But,
Hmm.
as we get stronger, we become unfazed, but we become the influence, man. And that's a real big driving force for me personally, where we've, and this is also in tandem with this idea of how we have experienced masculine energy, associating masculine energy and detriment, or what they call toxic masculinity, as power, or the illusion thereof, where you got to force and overextend your energy to make a person do something, or make a person accept what you're doing, or force them to operate right. It's like, nah, you flip inward, you become the influence. And it's
Right.
really going back to what you're saying, like checking yourself, clearing you, raising up, based on the opportunities that are cycling into your reality. And then you get to a point where it will still be a reality where people aren't operating in the same capacity, but you get to pull them up, and you operate really more sovereign than before. And that can only increase. We just keep leveling up. That's the goal for me. Like I can't stop leveling up. Once you get a little taste, you're like, damn, there's more.
Yeah.
It take effort and discipline, but that's where the masculine energy come in. That discipline, that diligence, building integrity, being gung-ho, being stern with your word, and tweaking that along the way, it fortifies you.
So that what made me really want to explore this conversation. Really, I'll start from yesterday. What made me want to do the meditation and read a little bit of the communication was that I personally have been feeling like, number one, I need some healing and balance to how I have been feeling. Um,
Talk to me,
I
bro.
guess I'll say you're right. I guess I'll say I could identify that I've been feeling extremely uh probably in an imbalanced way in the masculine, I guess. And the way that I identify some of that is very very I don't. I guess I'll say harsh or very unforgiving or very rigid in areas and things that don't require that, um, and in areas and in roles and with people that I want to actually be the exact opposite with, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and in monitoring your own thoughts regularly, and then also experiencing the results of your own energy and action, it gives you a good it gives you a good look in the mirror on, okay, where am I at versus where I want to be. And one of the struggles for me, and I think a lot of us engage with this experience, is that the idea of feeling entitled to feel how you feel, and as if because what happened happened, or because you feel how you feel, means that s- you have to respond or stay in the experience of what happened rather than becoming above it, rising above the turbulence of whatever that was. So I've had this philosophy or this thought process for a while that, like, one of the easiest tricks that we play on ourselves is that we we take comfort in what has the injustice that has been done to us,
Hmm.
because as long as something or someone is doing something to us, or is looking at us funny, or is not respecting us, or is talking to us mad, bad, or is this or that, or did something before, as long as someone else is doing something, then we have this safety of, we have the moral upper hand, which means that which
Yeah.
means that we then are entitled to be to feel um something that's done to us. I don't want to use the V word because it's very triggering. So you know what I'm saying? But the either way, that there's a warmth to the idea of, I'm justified in feeling this way because
Yeah.
such and such, such and such, such and such. And most of the times it's true, because what happened made you feel how you felt. However, the story doesn't end there. The story doesn't end at you feeling a way. The story can end at you transmuting that and becoming above it, and possibly even, depending on what the engagement was or who the engagement was, you both becoming above it, or all the parties involved becoming above it, not just yourself. However, self-preservation is the law of creation, so it starts with self. And essentially, all that to say that every time I would acknowledge, like, I'm not feeling as uh balanced in my masculine as I want to, then the next response is, but bro, look at how this person's doing this, and look at how someone's always needs this of you. Look at how this person's trying to make you feel bad for this, and look at how such and such, such and such. Like, man, fuck all that. That's the kind of vibe, and
Hmm.
that is not who I want to be. So the next step after that kind of response, I noticed, was like, all right, I'll be trying to do this whole Ponopono, and one of the funniest things I crack up with myself is that you
I'm
get
already
to a
laughing,
point,
bro. Excuse
yeah,
me.
I get to a point where I'm doing whole Ponopono, and I'm doing it with intention. So I'm not just saying thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, but I'm kind of focusing it on either a specific dynamic or relationship or whatever it might be, or experience in my life. And I'm doing it. And then I noticed, when I was got to thank you, right? I'm doing it on a topic that has been a challenge for me, let's just say. So when I get to thank you, my inner rascal in me did not want to acknowledge the things I'm thankful for from whatever experience or person or whatever it was that was challenging, that produced this challenge for me, or that caused me, that I've been having to struggle with, because I said, okay, I'm gonna do Ho'oponopono to heal the dynamic between this situation. Regardless of if it's I'm gonna continue with this engagement or not, I'm gonna heal the dynamic between it, the energy between it. But when I would get to thank you, I'd be like, I don't want to acknowledge or identify the thing I'm grateful for within this experience. I don't want to. It's like I want to withhold it, because if I let that go, if I be in gratitude, all that self-righteous entitlement, or all that justification for anger, all that justification for fire just goes away, literally.
It
And
does.
I was cracking up at myself like,
That's
dude,
the
you
healing.
don't.
That's called
Yeah,
healing.
exactly. I was like, I don't want to heal. I'm saying I'm going to do Ho'oponopono for this, but once it comes to actually identifying, I'm in gratitude for it, whatever between me and this person, or whatever. It's like, oh, I don't want to give them that credit. I don't want to give them that because they irked me over here, or they did this, whatever it is, and all that. I'm using all that as why I've been like, all right, I got to continue to keep not just the idea of um the divine masculine in my mind, but I got to keep the conversation going, and I got to keep learning and getting other views of what it looks like, and uh kind of just leveling up from my understanding of it, so that it's not a struggle and a fight every single time I'm encountered with something that challenges the level of masculinity that I'm at right now, whatever, either way. So I'm just saying to give you some
Yeah.
perspective of how real life impacts my interest in this conversation, and why I hope that it can be beneficial for all of us in our real lives, not just a concept about divine this and divine that we feel so deep that we hear but don't know how to apply.
Well, let's dive a little further into that, because what you were sharing relates to both men and women. That feeling of the justification where you feel like you were done wrong, where in some case, yes, but that part of you that don't want to let go, that want to stay, I know what that's like, bro. And I still remove the programs associated with that. And oh my gosh, I want to speak on this so succinctly, because the first thing that I would say is this can only happen is if you don't know who you are. And sometimes we have moments of tapping into, oh, I'm, one with the universe, or one with all that is, or I'm a light being. But yeah, you may hold that thread for about 5 minutes and then pop out. As soon as your
Yeah.
program gets triggered and initiates, and somebody says something you don't like, remind you of that, that thing that they did that you haven't quite shaken. And so, that's a whole nother conversation where it requires constantly removing the programs. But initially, this can only happen is if you don't know who you are, or if you are not regularly striving to stay within that level of consciousness of who am I really in this equation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tough quick cookie to swallow, bro. And at the same time, there is a level of it's an immense level of responsibility and accountability that most of us are unprepared for, because there are emotions and programs that require to be released in order to sustain that consciousness of this is all me.
Yeah.
And those programs, they feel good, bro. Those emotional congestions, and I'm going to be this way because they did that to me, and I do, and like we justify it. And so when you recognize who and what you are, and I'm going to share what my understanding of myself is. I'm in varying levels of matriculation of being light embodied, literally becoming the sun, but in physical form, literally operating angelic, Christ consciousness. That's what I'm striving for. And so you mentioned, you able to observe your thoughts and see how that materialize. And is what my reality bringing back to me matching with this aspire to state of being, you know. So there has to be a constant level of checks and balances with that, which may look like, all right, what am I doing to this person? How am I being shitty? Right? You know, and recognizing that being shitty with them is being shitty to yourself, because they are your other self. You know, if we're supposed to be divine masculine, divine feminine, or a balance of both polarities, how are we raising them up? Through being solid, you know.
Mhm.
And in some cases, like I'll give some examples, like wanting, I have found that being someone who, like, control happens in so many different ways, and it's so deceptive, bro. It's insidious. Like, you think that you want someone to be better or change something, whether it's their eating habits or do this and do that, and then next thing you know, you start controlling them, and then you start feeling some type of way because they're not doing or living righteous, and then you create this attitude and this disposition towards them. What is that doing for your other self, who is you? Right? It's diminishing them, and like, we lose sight of what's really happening. And so this could still be traced back to the separation between masculine and feminine, because we broke the law of gender. And so our consciousness is fractured. We again, it's competition. I'm mad at them. They're not doing what I want. Why, you know? So within this dynamic of having to continue to check self as it relates to what is it that I'm looking to aspire to, that's something that I've been working on doing throughout my life, where it gets even intenser, because just when I thought I was over something, I was like, oh shit, there it goes again. Whoa, at a
Yeah.
deeper level. But it becomes easier because I have a reference point. I got the reference point where, okay, I mean, and there's many reference points, but again, for example, if I'll start with this. So those of you who are in light body, you may notice that, and even those who are not engaged in light body, but within of us own, we're collectively doing light body activations. And as you sensitize your energy body, you can feel where the interference coming from, you know. So like, I can feel where a person may be trying to control me, or I'm controlling them, and I feel something in the pit of my solar plexus, like, ah, damn, all right, step back, bro. There's miscontrol.
Yeah.
Step away, you know, and then just address myself, check myself. But again, this, even in order to do such a thing like that, that requires having an aspire to version of self. And then what people call mindfulness, that shit got to be done. I'm talking you mindful moment to moment, and that can also seem exhausting too.
Yeah.
It can seem
Okay.
tedious. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Real quick, because you brought it up now a couple times, let's do a quick plug on the light body movement. Will you share the details on light body movement? Just kind of what it is, and then how a person can engage with it.
Yeah. So light body movement is a collective engagement that Of the Sun has been doing for the last several months, of activating the light body, known as the energy centers, or the totality of the energy centers, in a group session. And within the inner circle of the Sun, our allies and our guidance has taken us through a process of activating our light bodies. And they share with us, all right, you guys can't hoard this. You got to share this with the world, right? Teach people how to do this themselves, at least open the gateway. And so we've been doing it in a very practical way, in the same fashion that our guidance has worked with us, spending a significant amount of time on each energy center, because this is not fast food. These
Mhm.
energy centers are jacked the beep up. They really messed up. Like, when you truly engage with it, you see how messed up we are. and but I digress. But the cool thing about this is that we're delivering the information in a very practical sense. And this is something that I often speak about, and I love about Of the Sun, because as far out as we get with communicating with interdimensional consciousness and galactic and cosmic consciousness, we're really grounded with it. And so how the energy bodies and their characteristics play out in your everyday life, we provide you a pre-recorded meditation, and we meet 4 times a month, every first, second, third, and fourth Sunday. And it's with Lauta and I. Lauta does 3 different sessions. I do one of them. Her monthly self-healing talks also incorporated. She does a free energy clearing workshop as well. And the other 2 days out of the 4 is intensive focus on slash discussion around the specific energy center. And we focus on the energy center for the entire duration of the month. Following month, we go to the next. So this is where it's at. I would say the process of what people call ascension. I like to use the word ascension because you're really going inward, and it's not as linear as we think, but due to our minds, just for the sake of it, you want to activate this whole column, and the energy centers are attributes of different aspects of your consciousness, and we got to clean that up, and the more light you flood into these energy centers, the more correct you can be and balance. And I'll say this last piece, we're about to move into the heart center on Sunday, and that's all about where the divine masculine and divine feminine meet, that heaven and earth, that above and below. And so, we're moving into that. We're already in the 4th dimension. We're moving 5th, 6th. Some people are operating in varying levels and degrees and other dimensional levels. But one of the things that are going to be necessary for humans is to start operating here more in balance. Like the desire that you have, like I need to balance my masculine, get that right. Yeah, there's a calling planetarily and cosmically because the planet's shifting, and in order for us to operate within these vibrational fields, things would go smoother if we had more balance or we operated here. But that's what we're getting into. And this is just consider this a little morsel appetizer, a little highlight of that, because we're going to really dive into the masculine and the feminine in this upcoming light body.
Oh, really? For August?
Oh, most certainly. It's because that's where they meet.
So that starts, this month's session starts Sunday. It's every first 4 Sundays of the month, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can sign up on the website ofthesun.com, OFTHESUN.com. Go to Light Body Movement. It's super reasonable, $45 for the whole month course. So you get 4 Sundays a month total for $45, which is pretty darn good there, brother, I must say.
I want to add on to that. Anybody who jumps in, because we've already been doing this process for 4 months now, 5 months almost, right? And if you're like, what about, I wasn't there for the root or the sacral solar plex, all the pre-recordings are available to you, all the meditations, the class documents, so that you can engage with them and catch up and build that light tower.
Wait a second. So you're telling me if I go sign up for tomorrow's session, I'm going to get something that's going to have all the recordings of all the past sessions too? Yes, as a part of my sign up, not for extra charge?
I know it sounds extremely generous.
That's
quite frankly, it's needed, and we know the value of it is from a monetary perspective, it could be more, but
it's already,
people need to know how to use this. And then even more so, if you get in midway, you need to be on your own time, engaged with those meditations as much as you can.
So what I tell people when I'm doing consults is that one part of our goals is to make sure that no matter where you are in your personal journey and in your livelihood, financially, time, all that, there's some way and there's something you can engage with us at. So you can engage with us on live on Thursdays at noon and on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, and our little pop-ups for the free. But you can also engage with us on something like Light Body for literally $45. But you can also engage with us for a month class for $250 or $300. Or in October, you can engage with us for Quantum Light Property Clearing class for $1,500. Or you can, there's different levels to it. However, we try to make sure that everyone is considered and everyone is has a resource, because Of the Sun is truly a hub for the ones of us who are on our journey of growth, regardless of what that looks like for you. There's something of value that this community has for you to tap into. So I just want everybody to understand, like, that's our disposition. And as you all always hear me say, if you need, you need some guidance along how to work with Of the Sun, or you have questions, or you need a little setup, a hookup, or whatever, reach out. Open that, was that throat chakra, and
Yeah.
speak. I had Tavares, um I've had a few people mention it, but once woman specifically, she was like, Tavares was on his live, and he made a side comment. He was like, "Y'all open up that throat chakra," and that hit home for me. So I went ahead and finally decided, let me just sign up for this little free consultation so that I can have a conversation and explore whatever it is. So it's real. The whole open up the throat chakra, and you're having an impact on people, even with your your throwaway wisdom that you're just throwing in there, that you're just saying, you don't even know it, but you're having a major impact. So we're grateful for that. We got I love to see Dallas, man. I haven't if this is the same Dallas who I spoke to a couple months ago, I'm happy to see you in the chat. Haven't heard from you. It's nice to see you up here. It's nice to see the men involved in the conversation as well. Shaka, appreciate your input, along with Stacy. Oh my God, we got Stacy. We got quite a few people in here doing what y'all supposed to do, keeping this conversation going and keeping it keeping the insights coming, because we need multiple perspectives on our experiences. Right now, me and Tavares have the mics in front of us. However, that will change too. As you all have heard me say before, I'm looking to engage in conversations with quite a few of you as we go through this, so that we can discuss kind of our real life experiences and how we're navigating these things. I hope that every person who will in the future be a part of these conversations with me on High Frequency Living is willing to come with the transparency, match my energy. I'm willing to express some of, maybe not with names, but some real experiences and real thoughts and feelings about things. And I'd love for every other person who's going to join to come, not as your public image and that you're this perfect being, but come with the real, so that we can all grow and learn. I'll just give that little nugget to y'all now. So if you're part of this conversation, yeah, exactly. If you're part of this conversation, I want the real you, to whatever degree you're willing to express that. T, there's days and days and days of this conversation that we can and need to have, and we'll probably have to extend it more. However, for tonight, we're gonna wrap it up. I do have one final thing that I want to express to you all. And actually, it's so funny. So the last couple weeks, I've been sharing that we're going to do a giveaway. We're going to do a giveaway for one of the monthly classes in August that we are doing. We're doing One Mind, Connection, and DNA Activation. On the website has a lot of the details, the times and dates, and the ways that you can sign up. And you're always welcome to contact myself, contact Of the Sun. You can contact us literally at contact@ofthesun.com. You can send that email and we'll respond if you have any interest in signing up for anything or have questions. You can sign up for a free consultation on the website at ofthesun.com as well. That being said, we're having these classes we're doing during the month of August. One is taught by Tavares, who's joining us tonight. The other is taught by Ms. Lauta. And we have a scholarship fund. We have a scholarship fund where we receive donations towards allowing for those who either are in need or who are paying it forward to reap the rewards of their karma and their energy that they're putting out, and be a part of a class for free. So what we did is, for the last 2 weeks, we've been announcing that anyone who wanted to donate at least $25 to the scholarship fund would be automatically entered um, to be selected to receive the free scholarship for class, and you could pick which of the classes you'd like to do. Now, it's funny who ended up winning the scholarship because she has already done both of those classes. Now, I know she's very, very excited and eager to continue to take the classes because they're such healing experiences. However, I'd like to say congratulations. Look at the last person in the chat, T. You see who that is?
Yes,
It's so funny. What's the name you see?
I see. It looks like our winner is Stacy.
Yes, sir. That's crazy. That's right. She's literally just made a comment. This was beautiful to see you two engage in this topic. Stacy, you're the winner. Nah, there we go. Stacy, like I said, Stacy, you've taken both classes before. Stacy's been riding, not dying for a long time. So, Stacy, congratulations. You were the random selection. I do hope that next month's selection will be someone who never took a class. But in order to do that, that means all the people who never took a class got to get into that scholarship, qualify. It's literally a quarter, put that quarter in there, and then you qualify for a free class. The classes run $300 for the month, 250 if you pay all at once. So it's a very worthwhile investment, even if you're just looking at the number side of it. So congratulations again, Stacy. We got Kay said congratulations. Shaka said congratulations, Stacy. We got you got a crew. Everybody's happy for you. We're happy for you. Obviously, just reach out to me and you'll let me know which of the classes you'd like to take. We will continue to do this, so we'll prepare. And Tavares, this is coming right off the dome, so don't hold me to it. But I even think we might do something. It won't be a full scholarship, but maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to do a portion of a percentage scholarship towards one of the big classes that we have coming up. We got in October Quantum Light Property Clearing, and in November we have Soul Translation. So I think that might be something. I think we might do it for the Soul Translation, which gives us some time, number one, but also is less prerequisites that's needed. So, for a person. So maybe, I think if I start preparing now, I might be able to, through this month, put together something to a clear plan to give away a certain percentage scholarship towards that class. I want to make sure everybody who's spending their time and energy, even in this free method, but supporting us, gets at least an opportunity to receive a thank you from us for it. So just, I'll let everybody know. I mean, you're a teacher, so I'm just kind of expressing it to you.
I'm taking mental notes for that. I think it's a great idea, and definitely for either class. And yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody in the chat. We had a lot of activity, a lot of thoughts, and I do really, really, really appreciate the engagement in the chat. This makes sure that we understand that you all are not just flies on the wall, but you're actually hearing what we're saying and you have some thoughts and input, and it helps us know that the topics are relevant to everyone we're speaking to. So if I ever get to talking about something that has no interest in you, put that in the chat too. Say boo, tomatoes, whatever you gotta do. But but the engagement, whether it's regardless of how it is, I'm grateful for. So I'll leave in the night with thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Tavares, and I look forward to seeing everybody. We're gonna do probably a midday meditation on Monday. I'll announce it soon, right before. So make sure you follow us on the socials. We are of the Sun and High Frequency Living, so that you can know when we're gonna do something, a pop up or a live. All right, in Lakesh and Veritas, everyone have a great evening.
Honor, respect, and gratitude.